1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la.
Good morning, guys.
Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la.
Hey, I'm James Hake of the Hake Report. It is 9 a.m. Monday, August 12th, 2019. Live in the fourth hour of the Jesse Lee Peterson Show video streams. Thank you, Jesse. Shout out to YouTube, dlive.tv/Jesse Lee Peterson, mixer.com/JLP Talk. Not Twitch. We're not on Twitch right now because so-called hate speech. Not on Facebook because of so-called hate speech. But also shout out to Periscope, guys. Thank you guys for joining. Announcement. Women's Forum this Thursday, third Thursday of the month, August 15th, 7 p.m. at Bond in Los Angeles. Rebuildingtheman.com/events. Make sure you go, ladies. All right. Andrew Yang goes Marco Rubio on President Trump. And Marco Rubio is the RINO who infamously tried to imitate President Trump by doing it was a cheap imitation, doing low-class insults on Donald Trump in the Republican debates during 2015, 2016, I guess. And Rubio just looked cheap, boyish, immature, and fake. And Andrew Yang is looking the same. So the story goes, Drudge reports, Yang goes after fat slob Trump. Daily Mail reports about this incident. Andrew Yang was at the Iowa State Fair, where another RINO, well, Yang is not a Republican, but he's a Democrat, but he's a fake, turns out. But another RINO, Bill Weld, I reported on this during the show, the Jesse Lee Peterson Show news segments, that Bill Weld called Trump a racist at the Iowa State Fair. Well, Andrew Yang was there too, and he says, what does that guy weigh, 280 or something? Andrew Yang calls Donald Trump fat and a slob, challenges him to a push-up contest, and says America would love to see you pass out. He's just jumping on the anti-Trump bandwagon, kind of like these comedians. And he said on Saturday he tore into Trump about that whole nonsense. And he says, I'd challenge Donald Trump to any physical or mental feat under the sun. Oh God, what can that guy beat me at? Being a slob? He said, he is so fat, said the Democratic presidential candidate. He challenged Trump to a push-up contest, but conceded Trump may win at a golf match. He might be able to beat me at golf, although I'm told he cheats a lot, Andrew Yang said. Wow, spreading rumors and gossip. Very manly, looking immature. Speaking of Men's History Month, right? It makes you look at him differently. You see pictures of him, and I can't show pictures of him because, Reuters owns it, and they try to charge you every time you show pictures. And so President Trump is just being himself when they accuse him of insulting people and being immature, and he's not being immature. He's being appropriate. He's appropriate, he's humble, but people call him narcissistic. People call him prideful. But they're the prideful ones that accuse him of that. He's consistent. Not so with these guys. They're a cheap imitation. You can call in 888-775-3773, which is the same number as the Jesse Lee Peterson Show. I'm also live Sundays on my channel, thehakereport.com, or the Hake Report channels. And that's at 9 a.m. on my streams. And I want to talk about this Pope, anti-nationalist Pope, who continues to fearmonger, speaking of more fake, weak men, he's fearmongering about the nationalists. I don't know, and he seems to be responding to stuff that's going on in Italy, and I don't really understand what's going on in Italy. But this Pope is so fake. He actually triggers me with his weak, soft, fake liberal beta male self, so I should chill. But Drudge reports the Pope says recent political rhetoric, and I no doubt that he's talking about Trump too, has echoed Hitler. Some in Italy are shifting to the right. That's where Mussolini rose to power. He was like a fascist, right? But he was like a leftist. And I think that FDR liked fascism and liked Mussolini and Hitler. I think Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the one that brought us the New Deal, he ushered in a whole lot of socialism into America. Huge government, corrupt. He put the Japanese in internment camps, by the way, because they had the face of the enemy. So this Pope is from Argentina, Pope Francis. Seems to be a socialist, seems to be globalist, but he's so vague you never know really what he's talking about, what he's saying. And he seems to be against nationalism. The best I can understand it is that it sounds selfish. It sounds selfish when you put say America first or us first, whatever. Here's a quote. I am concerned because we hear speeches that resemble those of Hitler in 1934. Pope Francis told Italian outlet La Stampa, us first, we. These are frightening thoughts. And I could just hear him saying this, of course, probably in a different language. I don't know if he knows English. Pope Francis said on Friday that migrants should be integrated into society and that nationalism is an attitude of isolation. But I don't buy that. I think that nationalism is probably the best thing for the migrants too, because then the migrants don't get spoiled, they don't get displaced, they're forced to face the evil in their own countries, and it makes everybody better. It's kind of like when people care for the poor, right? Everybody's caring for the poor in Los Angeles, so-called. And homelessness is out of control. It has gone like rampant, wild. It's been 12 years that I've been coming to Bond in Los Angeles. And I saw the homelessness go from just being pretty much in downtown LA and then under, overpasses, freeway overpasses around the suburbs sometimes, to being on the sidewalks in front of businesses, tents everywhere like crazy, just shamelessness. And then they ask you for money and then they yell at you when you don't give it. And they're fake people. They talk about, I want a hand up, not a hand out. And they say that they're veterans. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. And then they get annoyed and yell at you when you just, if you acknowledge them, then they'll get mad. It's crazy, man. I was at a stoplight once. I saw a guy who may have been a veteran. I nodded at him, but I wasn't going to give him anything. And he had this sign that said, I want a hand up, not a hand out. And there's a pro-socialist caller who said the same thing, that he believes in giving a hand up, not a hand out. He's a Bernie supporter who calls this show sometimes. And I don't buy that line for a second, because they're for the handout. That's what they're asking for, is the handout. It's not a hand up. So dumb. So they're just using these dumb cliches. This Pope said, no one is exempt from helping migrants. What does that even mean? No one is exempt from having to help migrants after clashes between Italy's government and migrant rescue ships. I do remember seeing something like this. So there's these do-gooders who rescue the migrants in these ships, and they want to come invade Italy, the coast of Italy, and the government doesn't want them there. So they try to turn them around or whatever. And then it's this big controversy because the liberals, the media, they say, oh, you're not being compassionate. And we know where compassion got us, because we had a president, a RINO president, whom many of us voted for to our shame, kind of. George W. Bush, who coined the term compassionate conservatism. And that just means a liberal. being a Democrat in a Republican name only. And since being compassionate conservatives, we got 9/11, 2001, being compassionate, letting these people work on work visas, training these, Muslim radicals to fly our planes. And so they hijack our planes and fly into our buildings and kill 3,000 of our people. That's where compassion got us. And then compassion got us, after that, all this fear-mongering about don't be Islamophobic. Don't be Islamophobic. It's not all Muslims, right? And so they fear-monger more about Islamophobia than they do about terrorism. And terrorism has continued attack after attack after attack because we keep on letting these people into our country. And you could actually blame that on the globalists. I think the people that are anti-war, there are people on the left and right that are anti-war, right? And they have a point that we're going to these other countries and bombing them, creating a need for refugees to come. And I understand, my understanding is that America, under maybe Bush, maybe Hillary, maybe Obama, funded ISIS, funded the rebels who turned out to become ISIS. And that's compassion, right? That is the war on terrorism. So ridiculous. And they get rid of leaders that we don't like we didn't like Gaddafi, right? I guess. And so under Hillary, she's all, we came, we saw, he died. And Hillary was so evil. She was a horrible Secretary of State. We had Hillary Clinton. We had, who is that guy, John Kerry, as Secretary of State? These are nasty people. And they got us into these wars and stuff like that. And Bush was criticized as a warmonger, but somehow Obama wasn't. Obama had more people die, of our soldiers die, than Bush did. That was one half-decent thing, I guess, about Bush, maybe, was that even though maybe we were or weren't, I don't know, supposed to go to war, the rules of engagement weren't that insane to where the ultra-compassionate liberal, Obama, made the rules of engagement so bad that our soldiers were just dying left and right. Rules of engagement means you're not allowed to shoot at such and such enemy unless he poses a direct threat to you or something like that. That's just an example, and it's not really a real example, but the rules of engagement means when you're allowed, how you're allowed to fight the war. Or it's not even a real war, it's a military action. So we're creating we're messing up those countries, and then they need to refugee somewhere. And why not refugee in America? There are people that make a great point that refugees are meant to go to a neighboring country temporarily. No, they don't do that. They come to America and stay here, become citizens, and get elected to Congress. And then they defend Muslims and cry Islamophobia and say, some people did something? Referring to Ilhan Omar, Somalian Muslim refugee who became a citizen and very corrupt woman, social justice warrior, SJW. And that's compassion for you. That's what this liberalism does. It's globalism. And that just seems like such a fake Christianity to me, this Pope. Have we ever heard this Pope warn against fear? Because he's fear-mongering about these nationalists. Against hating the nationalists. Does he say, don't hate the nationalist? He says, don't hate the gays. Which is true, you shouldn't hate the gays. But you shouldn't accept them. But he doesn't want to accept the nationalists. He says, I've never heard him say, if you're a nationalist and you're sincere and seeking God, who am I to judge? Like he did for the gays back in 2013. He said, if you're gay, if someone is gay and they're sincere and they're truly seeking God, who am I to judge? But no, he doesn't say that about the nationalists. He says Hitler, fear-mongering. And Hitler is supposed to be like the most evil person that you can think of, is the brainwashing that we're taught. Has he ever cautioned against the deception of false compassion? No, because he is promoting it. He's promoting the false compassion that enables evil. Here's his quote: "Us first, we, these are frightening thoughts." But that's not how you love people. That's why I like Jesse, because his thing is you love people by leaving them alone, letting them suffer. Then in their suffering, then they can cry out to God and get better. And their lives do get better. When you stop taking care of people, they start to take care of themselves in ways that are amazing. People get so much better. Look at Joel. He was living at his parents' house or his mother's house, and then waiting around for opportunities. He was teaching dancing. That's nice. But then he left the house, his mother's house, started taking care of himself and got a car and a job or two, started a business. And he was a mess. He was like a Christian, a dedicated Christian. But he had real nice, sincere questions for Jesse. And it was sincere questions. It wasn't to test. There are Christians who come to Jesse to test, kind of like the Pharisees and teachers of the law went to Jesus to test him, but they weren't sincerely seeking. There were some, like Nicodemus may have been a sincere Pharisee seeker. Anyways, and I guess, the Pope there's always like a little bit of truth amongst these liars. There are some people who go too far with this nationalism thing. It's not that they go too far with it necessarily even. They're right in what they're talking about, but they say lack love. They're angry. And, it's understandable to be angry at all the evil insanity in the world. I was talking about how the free speech forum that we had on Thursday, check it out, on the Fallen State. Apologies for the errors and technical issues going early on, but it did get better. But apologies about that. But the content was excellent. And there was a man there, if you could call him a man, but he's a good guy. And he was nationalist. And he was telling the truth. And he was no compromise on the gun rights. And I loved that. And he was about not only not rewarding the illegals, but punishing them. And he had a harsh punishment in mind, basically a harsh enforcement tactic in mind about these illegals that are trying to cross the border. Very harsh. But it would work. It would be a deterrent, and right now there's no deterrent. Trump is separating families as a deterrent, was separating families as a deterrent, and it was a good one. But politically it's not acceptable because the stupid people feel sorry for him. And that's that fake compassion getting us more trouble. These illegals, many of them are killing people with DUIs. I reported yesterday, Sunday, about a man who got killed. He was an illegal alien supporter. He was a white guy who adopted a couple of black young boys from Africa. But he has 3 kids of his own with his wife. Christians, supposedly, but liberal. Promoted so-called immigration, really illegal immigration. And he was hit and killed in an apparent car crash by an illegal who was on probation for DUI and had been ordered back to El Salvador to be deported 8 months ago prior. And that man had made headlines because he'd holed up in a church to plead sanctuary, not be deported. And it was a Universalist Unitarian church, another fake Christian church. And this is a pope. This is like Catholicism. It's like one of the main establishments of religion. Not for me because I'm a Christian, not a Catholic. By that I mean I'm a Protestant. But even among the Protestants, there's a whole lot of fake Christianity. It seems like most of the churches are fake. Anyways, let me get to some calls. You guys have been on hold for a while. Scott, out of Colorado. How are you? Scott.
Hey, great, James. How are you this morning?
Fine. Nice to hear from you. Happy Men's History Month, by the way.
Likewise.
Thank you.
It just feels manly.
Yes, August does. August means something good. I forget what it means, but it's something about maybe bold, real, something along those lines. Not those exact words, but yes.
I love it because it tells me that there's only so long with a lawn care season left, and then we go into snow removal here in Colorado. So it's a
Wow.
good shift.
Nice. Yeah, I've had snowball fights in certain parts of the country, specifically high altitude parts, in July as a kid.
It's amazing. We're so lucky to be Americans because we have so many season changes, and America's gorgeous.
Yep, very true.
So I wanted to quickly mention this ridiculousness Scaramucci wants to espouse about Trump and his hate, and we need to replace him because he's a rhino.
Yeah, you know, so that the people know what we're talking about. Anthony Scaramucci, nicknamed the Mooch.
The Mooch.
He was once the White House communications director for 11 days, and he made a splash because he was bold with the media. But maybe it was kind of a cheap imitation of Trump, a la Marco Rubio, a la Andrew Yang, you know, trying to be that fake boldness. He got fired after a while, or left. August means respected and impressive, according to Google definition, and Google never lies. Yeah, Scaramucci is a fake August. Trump is a real August, respected and impressive. And so Scaramucci, because he's kind of entertaining, he gets on TV a lot, and he comments on MSNBC, which hates Trump, just as fake as CNN. Used to be that CNN was a little bit more respected than MSNBC. I don't think that's the case anymore. But yeah, Scaramucci has now said that Trump failed in his thing with his visit to El Paso, where the shooting happened by the I guess he was a white guy. He was somewhat of a nationalist, but he was more of an eco-fascist. And according to if that manifesto was real. And Scaramucci played the media line where he accused Trump of making it about him, the visit to be about him as opposed to being about uniting the country. And Trump has never been anything but about uniting the country. In every situation, he's been for love and unity. And the media wants to divide against him. So anyways, yeah, Scaramucci. There are people that I respect that like Scaramucci, but he does seem fake to me. I mean, for him to say what he said about Trump, and it does seem fake. Go ahead.
With enough attacks that Trump receives, he's got to receive friendly fire also.
Yeah.
You know, I like Scaramucci for 5 minutes, but he didn't last 10. I believe he's an Italian, so you know he's got the tough talk going, and like you nailed it best. He was being a faux Trump, but then he was proved out. And then, I mean, if you don't have anything positive to say, I don't think that you need to say that in public. I'm sure he's got channels to say, hey, you know, ratchet this back. In my belief, X. But he's fomenting this issue.
Yeah.
I don't think Trump said anything that. Come on now, that guy was unbalanced.
Right.
And he shot up a bunch of Mexicans, and it's sad. But like Tyson DeGrasse said, you know, we don't really need to overreact. People die every minute from X and Y, and we're not so devastated about that. But it's a cult reaction when we're all so devastated, and balloons are popping, and people are, oh my God, it's hysteria.
Yeah, people are thinking that balloons popping, like what you said, are gunfire. A motorcycle backfiring is gunfire. They freak out. People get injured in the freak out. So a sign falls, makes a bang. People freak out.
Huh.
And That's fear-mongering by the media, by the way.
Certainly.
People are pathetic, and they shouldn't be pathetic, but that's evil manipulation by the media to do that too. So.
And if everyone keeps acting like this, before we know it, we won't be able to protect ourselves. They will have completely removed our Second Amendment God-given right.
Yep.
And that's what they want. They want people to be afraid of balloons popping and signs falling and any loud noise.
They're never going to get rid of illegal guns. And those are the ones where people commit the crimes, according to people that I've, reliable sources that I've seen online. And that just means that the good people are going to be disarmed, and there's going to be more soft targets to target people. And then, of course, the government is no longer going to be afraid of us. Well, they're kind of already not afraid of us because we're so high on pot and drunk on alcohol and
pot and
stuck on video games.
Legal, but not guns.
Video games and pornography and everything else. We're just a bunch of pathetic people not able or knowing how to fight back, just complaining. So, yeah. But some people are waking up. Some people are setting an example, and kind of like Trump. I think that he woke up and is now setting pretty much a perfect example in his demeanor, and that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's standing strong as an alpha male.
And for Scaramucci to say he'll turn on everybody, including the whole country, there's no evidence of that. He hasn't turned on anybody. He just attacks those who attack him. And Scaramucci is the one who turned on him and the country, honestly, by promoting the media. And the media is one of the most divisive entities in the country because they love that stuff.
What happened to all those tapes of that black woman that Trump hired, and she had the dirt on Trump?
Right.
Nonsense.
Yep.
His loyal they were never allies. They were clingers on.
Yeah, totally. All right, Scott, I appreciate it, man.
Likewise,
good points.
James, keep it up.
All right, you too. Take care. Richie, out of Boston, Beta Boot Camp. How are you? Boston, Massachusetts.
Hey, James. How you doing, brother?
Doing fine, thank you. Nice to hear from you.
Nice to speak to you. And I just want to say that, ever since you went to an hour a day, you've been killing it, dude. You're doing a fantastic job, and having 4 hours of the Jesse family on as opposed to 3 is never a bad thing.
That's kind of you. I appreciate that.
Oh, no worries. And I mean it sincerely. You guys are doing great. About a week ago, everybody was very, very, very emotional in the chat with the calls about the whole red flag thing in response to the shootings and stuff. And,
because Trump seemed to side with red flag laws, taking guns away from people who seemed like they might be a threat. Is that right?
And but I always think about this. Trump is a businessman. He always wants to make a deal. He sees things 3, 4, 5 steps down the road. And I think he's just using this for leverage because he knows he's going to try to get something out of it. He knows that they're never going to give him anything. And all he's going to say is, well, I tried to work with them. Look at me, I'm trying to do the right thing here. And he always comes out victorious on every point at the end of it all. It's just that even me, like, oh my God, I go with I start getting the, oh my God this, oh my God that. And then I just take a step back and there's a reason for this. There's a reason for this. And, pretty much every thing that happens it just always ends up where he comes out smelling like a rose. And it's fascinating the way that goes.
Yeah, that is a good point. I've noticed that myself. That's why I kind of suspend judgment on anything that he says that he's for. A lot of people are upset, really upset, specifically the nationalists, and I consider myself a nationalist, that he wants more immigration than ever before, but he wants them to come in legally. And it seems like that's happening. And a whole lot of people are actually coming in illegally more than ever before, it seems like, too. And that's partly because of, that's maybe all because of their undermining of him and his attempts they're making it so bad that fewer people are deported under him than under Obama. Under Obama, they were getting flown back daily, and now it's like hardly happening. They're being forced to stay.
Go ahead, James.
No, that's good. Go for it.
Oh, and so many more people want to be a part of America because of our booming economy, and there's just always so much going on.
Yeah.
The news cycle is at a pace that I've never, ever seen before. I'm only 44 years old, but even I was always interested in politics growing up in Boston. It's kind of like what we do around here. But it's just, there's always so much going on. And sometimes, even myself, I'm very calm about things to a degree, but it's just never been like this. And I noticed that, even like with the Megan Rapinoe thing, that girl, where is she? She's nowhere to be found now, and that was a month ago.
What's that? Who's that?
The Megan Rapinoe, the soccer player who made all that noise.
Oh,
and
the one who...
I don't even know where she is now.
The one who kneeled for the anthem. Did they win the Women's World Cup or something?
They won, and, they had her little parade.
Anyway, Richie, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
You're from Boston. Were you in Boston when those Boston bombers blew up the Boston Marathon?
I was actually out injured on the job because I'm retired deputy sheriff, and I was actually at physical therapy in the town right next to Boston.
So you were a cop at the time?
Yes. Correctional officer.
Okay. Interesting. Yes. So you weren't in town when that was going on?
No, I wasn't, James. But if I had not been injured and if I was working, I worked in a town in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Okay. I asked because, we're talking about this false compassion, letting these people come in. And these were Eastern European Muslims, if I recall correct. The Tsarnaev brothers?
The Tsarnaev brothers.
Yeah, and they were on the loose, it seems like, for another day after the bombing. And they had weapons. And from what I understand, it was they successfully, two guys, well, I don't know if they were teenagers. I think they were.
They were late, like I would say roughly 18, 19-ish, maybe early 20s.
And they turned the city of Boston into a ghost town. The public transportation was not running. I think they might have even had a curfew, I don't know. But they urged people not to be out and about.
They had a curfew, I believe, in Watertown, and that's where they actually caught one of them in the boat.
Right. That is so crazy.
A good friend of mine was actually on scene, and he was part of the team that got one of the younger Tsarnaev brother off the boat.
Wow.
When they threw the flashbangs and, all that stuff.
To me, that's so crazy that
it was insane. James,
afraid in our own country.
It was literally insane.
Yeah. And that's what Pope Francis would bring us if we listened to him. And a lot of people do. It seems like half the country are, or maybe more sometimes. It's nuts, man. I appreciate it, Richie. Beta Boot Camp.
Problem, Rick. Hey, and James, for whatever reason, a couple of months ago, I was blocked on your chat for the Sunday show.
Okay.
So if you can kind of look into that, I honestly don't swear on the chat or anything, but just take a look at that.
Okay, will do.
Thank you, sir.
All right,
take
care.
One, brother.
Yep, you too.
All right.
Bye. Steve, out of Los Angeles. How are you?
What's up, James?
Hey, nice to hear from you.
Good to hear from you. This is my second time calling.
Right on.
Yeah, so I have kind of two things to ask you, but I don't want to take up too much time, so I'll give you a choice.
All right, go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's either a historical thing or it's a black pill thing.
I have no idea. Just ask me one, and we'll go from there.
I'll keep the historical thing. So this weekend I learned about something called the Sumerian king list.
Okay.
And it was a set of stone tablets, multiple stone tablets that they found in Sumeria.
All right.
All the ancient Mesopotamian cities. And the interesting thing about this is that all the stone tablets corroborate with each other. And it's like a list of all the kings of Sumeria. So the ones that they list before the flood, it was 8 kings, and each of these kings individually lived for thousands, tens of thousands of years.
Wow. Tens of thousands of years?
Tens of thousands of years. Yeah,
I thought that the Earth was only 8,000 years old.
Yeah, it's like another mystery. I don't know. But the other thing about that is that...
Are you a young Earth creationist or an old Earth creationist?
I think a lot of Christians believe in the young Earth.
Uh-huh.
I mean, honestly, I believe in an older Earth.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know.
Must be.
I don't really know, to be honest. So I kind of like, looking into this stuff and not really deciding until.
So what's your? Sorry about that. I threw you off. What's your question about the Sumerian kings living 10,000 years or something like that?
Sorry, yeah. I mean, I guess my question for you is more like, what do you think about that? What I wanted to say is that after the flood, the kings started living for hundreds of years.
Oh.
So before the flood, people were living for tens of thousands of years.
Yeah.
After the flood, the kings were living for hundreds of years. And then eventually the kings were living for, our lifespan.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think about it. It's like a big mystery to me. Like in the Bible, they talk about how some people live to be like 900 years old and stuff like that. I just leave it as I don't know. And since I don't know, there's no way of knowing, in my opinion, I don't really care. So I don't really think about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm very similar, but every now and then this stuff pops up in my my world, and I'm always kind of like, something deeper is going on in this world, maybe. But another question I have for you is in the Old Testament, they talk about the Nephilim and like the sons of God and daughters of men and all that in Genesis. Do you know about that?
I've seen the line, and I've never known what it meant.
Yeah, cool.
Yep.
Can I ask you my other question?
Sorry, not to help you.
It was kind of a dead end.
All right, real fast. Yeah.
Okay, quick. So a lot of nationalists, maybe like yourself and like myself, we kind of see that there's no hope just because of demographic realities for American values and American principles.
I don't say that, but I definitely understand that assumption because it's based on, it seems logical, right? Most POCs, people of color, vote liberal, and then most young people are being brainwashed to vote liberal, and whites are becoming a minority, and so we'll never win a Republican election, right? But the Republicans are turning weak anyways, except for Trump.
Yeah.
And maybe, I don't know, I haven't seen anybody who's strong come forth. We've seen, some people got excited about the eye patch guy, Dan Crenshaw. But he was for the red flag laws. Trump is too, right? But Dan Crenshaw is a kiss up to the false idea of, we should punch Nazis. And he actually acted like he agreed with, hating Nazis. You don't hate anybody.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
So there's no strong Republicans. So what's the use of even having a white majority if the whites are just going to continue to be weak? We need to first turn around the strength and don't worry about the numbers, because the personal strength is what we quote unquote have control over. We don't even really have control over that, but if more and more whites wake up, repent, and other POCs wake up, repent, yeah, of course we probably will never, who knows, but likely we'll never get the majorities of really any race, because if you think about it, yes, the majority of whites do vote Republican, especially men, but the majorities of them are not strong. If we get a significant minority of strong character, strong physically too, but strong men than bold people like Trump, unshakable people that are not afraid. That is really powerful. That is inspiring to the weaker people who have been, thirsting for somebody to stand up and not apologize, And that is inspiring, and it wakes up people like nothing else. That's why Trump has been an awakening for so many people. So I don't really join in with that just because we're losing numerically that it's a done deal, because you just have to live in the present, in reality. That it looks like that way. It's logical to assume that, but in reality, it's not reality. It's not the present. Let's stay with the present. So anyways, what were you about to say with that?
Oh, I mean, basically, it seems to me like you have faith that this country is not going to go to hell.
No, I don't have that either. I don't know what's going to happen, because who knows. Maybe we're supposed to.
If you didn't have faith, you would leave the country, right?
No, man. I mean, I wouldn't even say that I necessarily have actual faith either, but I'm just saying it's not wise to assume anything either way. It's just wise to check yourself, because one thing that the nationalists are concerned about is the outside world when they're forgetting the inside world.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely true to an extent. And what you're saying about assumptions is totally right. I mean, it's a folly to think we know what's going to happen. But I like to be prepared for what's going to happen. And,
yep, it's good to be prepared.
And, I mean, it sounds like you're staying in the country. I don't know what I'm doing yet, but I just want to make sure that I'm protecting my family, because I'm worried about either civil war.
You have a wife and kids?
Yeah, I have a wife, but I will soon have kids.
All right, make white babies.
All right, Hake, I'm not going to take up too much time.
All right, man. I appreciate it, Steve. Take care.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Bye. Rick out of Maryland. You've been holding the while. Appreciate it, Rick. How are you?
Hey, buddy. How are you today?
Doing fine.
On your show.
Nice to hear from you.
Yeah. Hey, I had another YouTuber show some very, very good information about this Epstein case. The other YouTuber was American Joe. I posted that information in the chat here some time ago today.
Okay.
And I also did a short video about it.
Oh, I'll check out your video.
Huh?
I said I'll check out your video.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This individual's website, YouTube channel is.
You don't have to share it. You don't have to share it here. Just we'll share it later. You can tell the. I'll put you on hold, and you can tell the screener.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
I appreciate that, Rick. Anything else?
No. Take care. Have a good day, James.
Very nice to hear from you, man. Appreciate you.
Take care.
All right, I'm gonna put you on hold, and so talk to the screener. Hang on.
All right.
But I'll talk to you another day. Take care.
All righty.
All right. Christopher, first-time caller out of California. Christopher, how are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing, Mr. Hake?
Fine. Did you come to the Men's History Month Free Speech Forum last Thursday?
I did not. No, I've never met you guys in person, but I've been planning on it for about a year now.
Nice.
Eventually.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'll just jump right into it, because I know you want to get to your next callers and everything. But I wanted to comment on, I believe, his Travis. I don't know the gentleman's full name.
The nationalist, the nationalist panelist on. He called himself a white nationalist on that free speech forum. Yes.
Yes. I am also a white nationalist, but no disrespect to Travis or anything, but
are you a white? So white nationalist? Does that mean you're white and a nationalist, or does that mean you want a white ethno state, meaning white majority country, whites only type of thing?
I want a white majority homelands. Yes.
Okay. All right, go on.
So, but anyway, I didn't think that he represented us very, very well. I must criticize him.
In what way?
I think that most of what he was sorry?
In what way? In his message, or in his tone, or what do you mean? Real quick, briefly.
I think it was hyperbole what he was using, but I couldn't really tell. But strafing the borders with warplanes and machine guns and killing.
Yeah, I vaguely referenced that earlier today, and the last time I talked about it, that he wanted to.
That's ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. No, so he's talking about basically he was for shooting the illegals on site, and I don't know if that was hyperbole either, or if he really means it. And he would want it to be done legally by the Border Patrol, but that would entail. I don't know how you would trick the people into supporting that, or the politicians.
What it does, it hurts the cause, and it makes white nationalists look like Nazis, and that's what they call us no matter what. But there's peaceful means. But they came here, they came here peacefully, relatively speaking. They can go back. We can help them go back. We can arrange dates and begin finding businesses that employ illegal immigrants. We don't have to strafe the frickin' border with military planes. That's just kind of radical and ridiculous, and it makes us sound like fools. And I didn't like that. I'd like for you guys to have, a reasonable white national, like somebody like Jared Taylor. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but somebody at least who's a reasonable person that could represent our position, because I don't feel like.
I don't think that. I somewhat disagree with you, because there is an intense frustration among the young white men that Jared Taylor is a nice guy. He represents himself well, and he's not a white nationalist. He calls himself a white advocate. Maybe he is a white nationalist, but he doesn't use that term because social media has proven him right, that they say there's no discernible difference between a white nationalist and a so-called white supremacist, right? And so they want to just censor everybody, right? So he calls himself a white advocate, but I know that there is a frustration with even him by the younger, radical whites or pro-whites, whatever you want to call them, because this is insane what's going on. They're letting people into the country, and he, including his tone, represented that frustration perfectly. And he didn't represent himself well in terms of, it didn't really reflect well on his, patience. He seemed impatient, and that is kind of radical to want to shoot people who are trying to cross the border illegally, and they are invading the country, but there's other ways to block them.
You know what the problem is, sir?
Yeah.
The problem is he took too many black pills, and he's just gotten into that kind of despair, desperation, waiting for the war. Look, if you think the war is coming, maybe it is. Get ready, stockpile your guns, get your food, whatever you need to do. But before wars come, we have to have a war of ideas, and he's not helping the cause by saying things like we need to have machine gun turrets on the border. That's just silly, and it makes us look stupid.
Yeah, I think that the way is to close the borders and stop letting these people in. But our country is so corrupt that there's no way to do that, because the whole rest of the government is fighting against Trump.
I'm not a big Trump fan, because I don't think that he cares about anyone himself or maybe immediate family.
Say that again? But you don't think he cares about himself or his immediate family? Is that what you said?
No, I think that's all he cares about is himself first and foremost, and maybe his immediate family. He's certainly not.
Based on what?
Where
do you get that assumption?
Based on his entire life's history. He's a playboy.
But he's cut that out now.
You think so, huh?
I mean, there's no. Is there any evidence otherwise?
Evidence that Trump's a playboy?
No evidence otherwise. That other than that, he's cut that out by now.
Oh,
you know what he's done.
Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware.
All right,
of.
then how come you're continuing to call him that? And
because
would you be a if? Let me ask you, Christopher. Would you be a playboy if you had his, say you had his personality, his money, the opportunities that he has had over his lifetime to be corrupt? Would you be a better man than him?
Well, let me just first and foremost say that no man is good, and I'm not good, and I don't have his money, and I don't have his personality. However, I have been a playboy. Yeah, I'm not proud of it, but it's just, I'm not.
But I don't understand how you can make this assumption that he doesn't. I don't understand how you can make this assumption that he only cares about himself and his immediate family. He's shown that he cares about the country. I don't know how anybody can dispute that, really.
No, I think he's got a record of swindling people and being a bit of a shyster and taking advantage. And
like how?
He'll say whatever
like
he
how?
wants to say to.
Hey, Christopher, like how? How has he? How does he have a record of being a swindler and a shyster? You're laughing, but answer. I'm serious.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm not trying to mock you. I'm just saying.
No, I'm trying to get an understanding of how you make this assumption about him.
Well, he's taken advantage.
Because you sound just like the media that you probably hate.
Over his Trump school, whatever that college was.
What about?
He's done it. I mean, obviously.
So you fell for that. You fell for that. You really fell for that. That media line about Trump University.
Oh, that's a lie?
No, I'm asking, you fell for that?
So it's a lie. You're saying that I fell for a lie?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
you
maybe
fell for
I
it?
am wrong.
Listen. My thing is, you guys are no different from the media that you hate. You're hating on your best friend.
He's not my best friend. What has
he is the best friend to white people, men in this country.
What has he done?
What has he done? He's stood up for the country. He's stood up on the truth. You remember the Charlottesville riot, the Antifa riot, where Antifa was attacking the alt-right? You remember that? Do you remember that?
People and good
hang on.
Both sides,
you remember that?
Really standing up for it.
You remember that?
I remember it.
And he stood on the truth. You stood on the truth of what happened.
He condemned white nationalists. He did.
Hey, because you look at you, you're condemning him. You're a traitor too.
I'm not condemning him.
Yes, you are.
I'm not condemning
you do not stand with him.
Sir. No,
yes, you do.
Hey,
you say he's for himself. You're selfish.
Don't think like he has.
Yes, you think you are what you accused him of being.
You're interrupting me, bro. Come on now.
But you are. I'm just telling you.
I'm not condemning.
Yes, you are. You condemned him.
I think that he's a selfish man.
See, that's condemnation. That's you. You're the selfish one.
I love how if you attack Trump or if you just even criticize him in the slightest, you guys go bananas.
But you're fake because you didn't really have a real criticism of him.
Fake?
You said Trump University.
I think
that's
Trump
so fake.
Share my values.
You don't have values.
I don't have values.
No. Listen to you.
Okay, man. All right, brother.
See, you're not an honest person. You're not as honest as you pretend to be.
Yeah, I criticize Trump. So
no, you don't have a criticism of Trump. You fall for the accusations. You have only accusations, not real criticisms of him.
I don't know why you guys do this, man. This is where you guys lose me. But I love you. I love you.
No, you don't. No, that's fake. I don't buy that.
I know. It's okay. So I guess we're at an impasse here. Should I just go ahead and hang up?
What do you want to say?
I've already said what I wanted to say. I didn't think that Travis supported the white nationalist.
No, but you said that.
Well.
What was your point about? I guess you don't really have a point about Trump because you think that he's selfish, and you have no evidence that he's selfish. There's only evidence that he loves the country, that he's for what's right.
He has an entire lifetime of evidence of being selfish. He cares about himself, and I don't think what he's.
All right, I gotta go, man. I gotta go. It's dumb, useless. Speaking of this, speaking of the other side of the blindness, this Wall Street Journal report about it's not even a report; it's an op-ed about white supremacist terrorism, so-called, written by a RINO. I have the headline. A Wall Street Journal article was written, and Wall Street Journal is supposedly on the conservative side, but it's really fake. Not unlike this arrogant man that I just hung up on. How to fight the new domestic terrorism. This is the other side of that arrogance. It's arrogance all around, right? And Wall Street Journal is trash. They are the people that turned on PewDiePie. They're two people with the Wall Street Journal, as I recall. PewDiePie being an independent YouTuber who's like the number one YouTuber, right? Most subscribers. Totally non-political guy, basically. Just funny for the kids. Maybe not, maybe for older kids, maybe. But they acted like he is a white nationalist sympathizer or white supremacist sympathizer, Nazi sympathizer, because he jokes. He's a millennial / Zoomer type of a guy. And amongst us, all this fear-mongering about racism and Nazis is a big joke at least to the independent thinkers, that the people who are not brainwashed by the liberalism as much. And so that's Wall Street Journal. And this guy, Clint Watts, I have a picture of him too. It's from a Wikipedia page. It's in the Wikipedia kind of thing about him, layout about him. And he's like an FBI guy, and this shows me what the FBI is coming from. Clint Watts, he's spoken before Congress multiple times about ISIS and about the Russian collusion nonsense. And the FBI is basically a deep state full of, I don't know what you would call them. Liberals, basically liberals, including the so-called Republican-leaning people. And you've seen it over and over again, by the way, with James Comey. He was the head of the FBI, so what does that tell you? If he made it to the top of the FBI, then this guy seems like a Comey guy, in my opinion. Clint Watts. And he may be smart. He may have, may present himself well. That's why he's spoken before Congress so often. But he said that here's where you get where he's coming from. Because he wants to enforce more gun control, and he wants to enforce more, surveillance of the so-called white nationalist sites. And he believes in this white supremacist stuff. White supremacist terrorism. It is terrorism, but it's not white supremacist. It's terrorism because guys are getting frustrated at the insanity in the world, and they're living grown up in insane homes and lives, and they're out of control, losers in life, and then they just go nuts and think that accelerating the attack on whites is a good thing, because that's what they're doing when they do this. They accelerate the attack on whites, the attack on gun rights, and want to start a civil war, race war, worldwide, really. The Christchurch, New Zealand shooter wanted to affect America, and it sure did. And amongst both the so-called right and the left, the media did what he wanted them to do and attacked the gun rights. So did the politicians, RINOs and liberals. And even, Trump is kind of falling for it a little bit, seemingly. And then on the right side, so-called, the whites, the young whites who don't like working, stuff like that. They're frustrated at, this fake pro-immigrant nonsense. They're going crazy, and they believe in this climate change stuff, by the way. They believe in the overpopulation promoted by scumbags like Dan Savage, by the way, a homosexual activist, radical homosexual activist, who believes that we need to stop having babies. but he never criticizes the Muslims or the Hispanics for having babies like crazy, or the Asians, and they are doing that. But he's for abortion, basically a pro-abortion guy. But these people are for that stuff, and this guy Clint Watts, who wants to fight that, he doesn't really disagree with them on that stuff. He agrees with them. He's a RINO. And here's one thing that he said that I forgot to mention yesterday. He said, George W. Bush showed leadership unlike President Trump. George W. Bush showed leadership in the fight against radical Islamic terrorism. The war on terrorism. I don't know about that. He said Islam is a religion of peace. That doesn't sound like leadership. That sounds like kissing up. And he suggests that President Trump has not, when Trump has condemned so-called white supremacy, which he shouldn't have, because it's a fake thing, but he's stood on unity and love for the country. And he's only shown loyalty to the truth as he sees it. And guys like the guy that I hung up on at the end of the show, you can't see that. And so he judges Trump as a playboy. I don't know how you can live with yourself being a so-called white nationalist and a grown man. That guy seems older than young guys like Travis. And then he's fallen for the media lines about Trump University and playboy. Judgmental fakeness. I hate that stuff. It gets to me. All right, see you guys later.